Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's your boy Road Dogg with none other than the man, the myth, the 4.5-foot legend himself, Karl Bryan.
How are you doing, Shoots? What's going on, Road Dogg?
There's always a lot going on, a lot going on, my friend. But yeah, where do you want me to unpack that? There's what I was trying to unpack was all of your jokes from last week, and let me just say, you're getting more edgy. Like I still not monitoring your jokes anymore. I don't think, because some of these are pretty edgy. I got to be honest with you.
Wasn't I writing about my new 82-year-old friend?
I can't go there. I can't go there. Some of these are too high risk for me to even read out loud on the podcast. I can't have things tie back. Everybody's after Joe Rogan right now. They're coming for us next, big shooter. Listen, I will say this, though, because this is legit. So you put in here your hockey team, the Phantoms, that you guys play. Listen, this is very eerily similar to the Summer Curling League. Where you tell your spouse that you're off to play. You got a big game. You're playing the Phantoms, and but they don't actually exist, right? And the team just meets at the bar and drinks for 3 hours and then returns home, proudly informing our families that we scored the game-winning goal. It's beautiful.
Nice.
I love it. It's good stuff right there. It's good stuff.
Hopefully my wife's not listening, Shoots. You just gave away my secrets. Well, there you go. The Phantoms curling and hockey team might be coming to an abrupt halt.
I'm pretty sure that your wife hears enough of you throughout the day that she doesn't need to be listening to you when you're not physically around her. So I think you're safe there. Anyways, should we jump right in, or what do you want to do here, big shooter? What's the plan?
Buddy, hit me, man. You got some questions? Hit me. Let's do it.
And this fairly open-ended question. And it's a doozy, though, but like this could go anywhere. This could be the entire podcast. I'm just going to put it on mute, and I'm going to take a nap, because here we go. Are you ready?
I'm ready, Shoots. Hit me. What is the entire podcast? Is it over? Is it about to be over?
It's about to be over. Like, if you're wondering where I am, I'm down making myself lunch. All right. Mistakes you currently see business coaches making. Oh my God. Do you see how open-ended this is? This
is open-ended, Shoots. Is that it?
So that's it.
Is that the end of the question?
Okay. That's it. Start and stop. The end.
Shoots, you picked that one. Okay. So now look, let's get serious here. We got to dial in here, Shoots. I mean, we talk about this all the time, right? It's like, multiple streams of income, passive income, following the silly influencers that, on your Facebook feed, like going after the new sexy book on sales, and then ignoring Ray Dalio, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, you know what I mean? But no, look, mistake. Look, let's think output. Like, I got to dial again. My brain's going. We got to think of something we haven't said repeatedly, which we opened somebody up earlier, and that's one of the mentions, but he did think repetition was the mother of skill, so that's okay. But, output, look at output as your activity, and then input as your return. Okay, so there's a framework for you. Output equals your activity, input equals your return. And then common advice that you hear, you won't hear it from Charlie Munger, though, but the more you give, the more you will receive, right? So it's true in a way, but not all of your activity will come back in the same proportion, right? Like, example, like I remember being a DJ for a short time after high school, right? One 3-minute song would get total crickets and no one even paying attention, let alone, moving their legs, shoulders, hips, or whatever. But a different song got the entire room up dancing and singing. And by the way, a different room, it would be a different song, right? I remember I had a job when I was 21. I was entertainments manager at a backpackers resort. A lot of fun, just FYI. But like the right song, like it was the same thing. The right song got everybody moving and moving at a kind of a faster pace, but different people didn't get up and dance by any stretch of the imagination. But I'll tell you this, the wrong song dead in the move. That's for sure, right? So, I'd also play drinking games, kind of like my job was to get everybody drunk, quite frankly. And then there was a specific game that I remember. It was, we called it a boat race, which is basically just everybody, pounding a beer and then putting it on top of their head. And there had to be one girl per team. But the game always crushed it. It always brightened the mood. It was kind of like my go-to. And then the mood, and everybody would kind of, is that making sense? Like that one game outpaced all of the other games, the same way that one song will outpace all, many other songs, but you got to kind of work it out in the room, right? Like my job description as entertainment manager, people would book for 3 days as like a frame. Like that was kind of the automatic. And then literally my job description was that get them to stay an entire week. And the way I would do that is to build relationship, have them have a lot of fun. The way we had the most fun is to get them down to the bar at, 6:00, and then we play games to make it lighthearted, play some great music. But okay, the one tweak mattered a lot, right? So therefore in your business, let's forget about drinking games and, music in high school dances. But like for in your business, if you were to use a straight calculation, try for like activities, like let's put in brackets, output, that it gets you a 20x or greater long-term return would be a good use of your time. Spend $1,000 on advertising and it turns into $1,100 of revenue. It's a 10% return on your ad spend, right? Well, the same $1,000 spent on advertising in a more clever way could bring in $20,000 of long-term revenue. That's a 20x return, right? Same ad, same ad space, let's say a 30-second or on Facebook, but a different headline, a different offer, tweaked copy could totally change things, right? Or maybe you take on a coaching client and you charge them $2,000 a month. And what's that? $24,000 a year. Well, you go to a landscaper, you go to a roofer, you charge them the $2,000 and you go, right? Well, a great way to build your coaching company is off, referrals from your existing clients. Well, if you went to a B2B business owner with the exact same time, the exact same effort, instead of taking on a roofer, you took on an accountant, and we'll assume that accountant had a client list of a few hundred of your ideal clients, right? Like an accountant looks after business owners. If they have an accountant, that means they're probably a little bit bigger than the average mom and pop. That means that translation, they can afford to pay you. Well, if the accountant sends you 20 referrals, you just got a 20x return all day long than you would have on the regular, roofer, landscaper, again, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, for that same $2,000 a month coaching client, that the output required at your end, right? So you're helping a roofer, you're helping an accountant. I would dare say you get a significantly greater return on that accountant. So that's like the song YMCA, right? Gets everybody up moving. If you ever do karaoke, by the way, do YMCA, and I don't care how bad of a singer you are, you will do well. The mistake people make in karaoke is that they do a song that they think is good. If you want to win karaoke, you do a song that the audience think is good. It's just like, it's a 101, but everybody makes the mistake. So it's a little bit the same, the accountant versus the roofer, right? And of course, it doesn't need to be financial. Financial is just the easy one where you can just make it apples to apples or compare it apples to oranges. If you have a glass of sugary coffee or a green smoothie in the morning, I would dare say you get a 20x return on your long-term health. If you're like Road Dog, you wake up in the morning and the guy jogs, 10 kilometers, 10 miles in the morning, you're going to get a significantly higher output than you are if you wake up and then watch TV in the same period of time that Road Dog goes and, pounds for a run. By the way, you could watch Netflix for an hour, or you could watch an hour-long YouTube video and learn a valuable skill and take some notes. And by the way, a big one, and we're all guilty of this, starting with me. When I go to the bathroom, I got to bring my phone so I can flip through the stupid thing. But it's like, rather than spend your time on social media mindlessly scrolling, and getting into political debates or about vax and vax passports, and that you have zero control over, to be clear. That's not to say you shouldn't fight for your rights and what you believe is right. Okay, I'm all for that. Yay, everybody clap. But you gotta, if you're looking to build a business, I will challenge you massively that that's an effective use of your time, right? And by the way, again, old school, pick up a book, certainly pick up an audio, pick out a video, and, have a conversation, again, with somebody, what do they say? You're a combination of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Take some time to reverse engineer that and have a look at who those 5 people are. And by the way, have a person who's elevated, somebody who's significantly, further along than what you are, and have a conversation with them. Think of 80-20, but do it on steroids. Again, I've talked about this to death, but I don't think I could say enough, where you go 80-20, but if you go significantly deeper, you're going to get 95-5 and then 51, right? 1%. That one accountant has 500 clients and just loves you and wants to refer the crap out of you. That's a 150 activity. You do a speaking event, speaker, they're finished and they got to run to the bathroom, right? The 5 minutes after you get off stage, the power that you've got in and around that room is incredible. The only question I have for you is, do you have the ability to be able to move in those 5 minutes to go have 5 conversations versus get trapped into one? And believe me, they'll try trap you into one if you let somebody. So there's a way to do that. But certainly running to the bathroom after you're done your 2-hour talk, that's a 150 moment all day long. But because we're not reverse engineering, we're not thinking along these lines, I think that we make these mistakes. But bottom line, Road Dogg's business, our business, Coke, Pepsi, Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, 1% of activity, products, and services can create 50% of your business returns. But are you dialing down? Are you taking a magnifying glass over the 20? When you go 80-20, take a magnifying glass over the 20, okay, which sounds easy. The challenge is it's about 100 times harder than I'm describing it here, right? And then you're looking for, as you reverse engineer all this and think about it strategically, look for like a 20x return. Look for a 200x return. Look for a 2000x return, by the way. But as a minimum, let's look for a 20x return. I think the business coaches, the mistake that they're making is they're waking up, they're following a routine. They're going to the networking, going to BNI versus going to the golf course when you're a good golfer, or going to the oil and gas club when you know oil and gas inside out, or going to the yacht club when you own a boat or a lot about boats, or you have a passion for boats, might be a more effective place for you. I don't know that would be a 150, but you know what? Specific individuals, and of course, as I say this to you, I'm talking through you to your business coaching clients. The roofers, landscapers, etc. And of course, I can just picture somebody now thinking Bitcoin, right? And thinking that's my 20x return, right? Then we've both failed wildly, but and again, Bitcoin's okay, but just you got zero control. Go hire somebody. Your goal of Bitcoin is to double your money. If you hire somebody for $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a year to make phone calls for 8 hours a day, I promise you will make. If you have any passion and throughput and wherewithal with your business at all, you will make a significantly better than 2x return on the $50,000 that you pay your employee. But that takes some guts. That takes a checkbook that some will or will not follow through on, and some don't want to. By the way, some are semi-retired and they just want to, work, 20 hours, 30 hours a week, and that's it. They don't care how much they earn. $100,000 is more than enough. $200,000 is starting to be too much because that means too many headaches, and they just want to look after their retirement. Okay, well, that's not great advice for you. Little red arrow, you are here. Where do you want to go? Defining that destination, and then the coaching is in the middle. The journey is in the middle. The magic is in the middle. So, and of course, I started with this, but listening to the influencers that are taking selfies with cars they don't own and, jets that they didn't even rent themselves, just taking a photo on a jet, talking on their phone, always be cautious of that. It's a pet peeve of mine on steroids. So there you go, Road Dog. It wasn't as bad. Oh, there you go. The podcast can continue. Shoots. What do you think? What do you think, Road Dog? You like?
What I didn't realize is that you also used to. I also used to DJ. Did you know that? It's a true story.
Well done. Shoot.
It's funny because this podcast is very much like that. It's sort of like if I need to take a leak, I just put on Stairway to Heaven, and we're off to the races, right? Same sort of deal.
Is that what just happened? Shoot, are you telling everybody what just happened in the last 5 minutes?
That's pretty much the way it works. Ask an open question. You've got 15 minutes. Good to go. Hey, listen. As a follow up now, with obviously talking building a business. Do you think this is a question that somebody wrote in, because I sure as heck have a very, very concrete view on this one? But do you think businesses should raise money to get started?
Do I think there's bootstrapping? You raise money. You got, as soon as you raise money, you are answerable to somebody, right? So you now have a parent in your business that you got to keep happy, and you're answerable. And one of the problems is that you're answerable to something called profit, which could be a really good thing, by the way. There's a good chance that it's a really bad thing, because sometimes growing a business, you have got to make strategic decisions that will not involve profit, right? Then, taking on a staff member as an example, the lead generator that I talked about a minute ago, there's a really good chance you're not going to make a lot out of them short term. And by the way, if you want to hack there, let me just go here. The person that you employ as a salesperson is somebody who could bring you 2 clients without your active involvement, borderline immediately, right? So an example of that is the person who I would hire to become my salesperson would be the person who worked at the chamber for the last 10 years and was their number one employee. And what I would say to them is, don't quit your job. I don't need you full time. I just need you for 20 hours a week. And here's how much I'll, match your salary at the chamber. But I want you to do is I want you to send people to me, but I don't want a conflict of interest. I don't want you getting in trouble. But obviously you have you have a network, and you have a lot of people that you built relationships with. Well, if some of them could use $100,000 in 45 minutes without spending $1 in marketing or advertising, why don't you send it over an email, introduce me, I'll take it from there. And anybody you send my way, I will, pay you a bonus, and just make sure that you're sending X amount of people, 4 warm leads a day, and I'm happy, and I'll pay you. You don't need them for 8 hours. You're looking for a result. You're not looking for a number of hours. But so that's a little hack there when you're thinking to employ a lead generator or a salesperson. Can they bring sales to you immediately without your active involvement? As in, do they have a Rolodex? Do they have a network they can already go to? So, raising, I talked about this a while ago, Road Dog. We were talking about starting versus acquiring or buying a business. And I had no idea when that was. I'm sure if you searched it, you could have a little bit of a look, but just a Cole's Notes, a quick little overview of it. Businesses fail in the first 3 years with insane predictability, over 80%, over 90 probably, right? Depends on whose stats you're using, by the way. So let's just call it 90 for the sake of the argument. So what makes sense is for you to go find a business that's been in business for longer than 3 years and buy it from someone that's tired, wants to retire, has a sickness, needs to move, needs to relocate for mom and dad or for kids, that kind of thing. Now that is a really good idea. And the chances of success there are pretty damn good. And, it's those first 3 years are what you're doing is you're bunny hopping. The way that I think I explained it is you're bunny hopping that, that massive crater, that massive danger area, versus start from scratch, which most people, if you line them up, and by the way, business coaches are 1,000,000% guilty of this, as far as what they're advising people, they will advise them to start. Why? because on the surface, it seems less risky, and it is so far. The statistics will tell you a very, very different story, right? But now, conversation, which I went into, a lot, further in depth that I won't do here, but like, now if you're going to go acquire a business, there's some things you got to be thinking about, some things you got to know, some questions you need to ask. So then, in other words, you don't want to buy a failing business. That would be a bad scenario. So you got to do your due diligence, get some proper advice. But yeah, I don't know, buying a business, you'd bunny hop it. So when you think about raising money, there's a really good chance in order to do that, this is where you'd need to do a raise. And again, and you can get money from friends and family. You can get it from mom and dad. Hopefully you've got some savings. You can get it from the bank. You could take a line of credit out on your, on a house that you've owned for a period of time. You can be ruthless and apply for some credit cards. So you can never raise money when you need it. You got to raise money before you need it. So raise far more than you think you're going to need would be a good idea. Not always possible, but this is what I'd use as a framework. But anyway, so just make sure that we're talking apples to apples. Be thinking about that, right? And there's so many people out there. Like, just think of baby boomers, right? The number of them, and they're getting older. They don't have an exit strategy. They definitely don't have a succession plan in place. So if you are willing to look up, lift up some rocks, ask some questions, pick up the phone, and your client was willing to do so, your friend was willing to do so, your relative, your son, your daughter, your auntie, your uncle, your mom, your dad were willing to do so, the opportunities that could potentially be out there would be incredible. And then, by the way, if you acquire a business where you're already operating, and then you could acquire something that you could bundle in what you're currently doing, both as a growth opportunity, but also as expense reduction, right? I just talked to one of Bieber's dad this morning, Road Dog, right? And we're talking about, like, he's got a trucking company, and the money that he spends on mechanics and the money that he spends on washing his trucks would blow your mind, right? So like starting up a business, with bays to wash trucks and cars, and then with a mechanic on staff for X amount per hour, it would immediately be profitable just by virtue of his own trucks going in, right? So just the way that you get there, this is Amazon 101. You just go to your profit and loss, go to your expenses that sit on your profit and loss, look at the big ones and go, can we start a business right there? And that is exactly how Amazon Web Services were started. Apparently not a bad idea, given the fact that it's, $1 billion company. So back to the question. Raising money to get started. So think of money as heat, right? So you're baking a cake. You need flour, baking powder. I'm not a, I don't know if I've ever baked a cake, but anyway, but there's baking powder. There's got to be some butter, probably some sugar, milk, icing, whatever. You mix it in the bowl in the right order, place it in the oven, and it's heat that makes it rise. Okay. Money is heat for a business. A business needs a great product, service, and most importantly, great operators. If everything is in order, money is going to make it rise. The same way that if you put, the wrong ingredients in the wrong order on your cake and put the flour on top and don't stir it, and no amount of heat is going to make it rise. It's going to burn, right? So if the business isn't in order, no amount of money is going to make it rise. And then, by the way, going back to many a podcast, we've mentioned this, but if you come to me and say, Karl, is this a good idea? Is this idea profitable? Will this idea work? I come back and go, you need to change your spidey senses to go from ideas to problems. Okay, identify a problem, and then can you solve it? And then will people pay you to solve it? And then those people that are willing to pay you to solve it, are they easy to find? Are they niched? Could we go to Facebook and basically program it in so that we could nail down and basically, find them quick, right? So again, don't look for ideas. Look for problems. Very, very different way of looking at business, in my opinion. So if I was looking to give, my daughter, somebody close to me good advice, that's got to be at the top of the list, Road Dog. All right. Like the tech industry is all like, here's, I think where this question comes from, Road Dog, right? We both know this. The tech industry is it's a dog's breakfast where the standard is how much money you raise. Like it literally makes, it makes headlines. It's like, they raised $1 billion, right? Like, what are the revenues? Like Twitter's a great example. They're like, 14, 15 year company. They've raised I don't know what, number it is, but, billions of dollars, put out 500 million tweets per day or whatever it is. And they haven't, they never, like, a profit is not even something they could even contemplate, right? After, well and truly a decade in business, not sure how long, but like, what business on this planet could survive for over a decade without making a profit, without making money, right? It doesn't make any sense. And there's a lot of tech plays like that. And Amazon we talked about this also in the past, have really changed, the rules of engagement, the rules of business in a lot of ways. And it's just, it's about how much you raise. But where does your new coaching client spend money to rise? Okay. So your coaching company is that cake, and they've got all the right ingredients. They need heat to rise because they don't, they want to get going. Where would they spend it? How do they rise? It's like advertising, get a hold of Road Dogg and let him help you create an advertising campaign. It'd be money really well spent, on marketing, on new staff. Talked about that earlier, like hire a lead generator, hire a salesperson. I mean, you suck at sales and you're a really good coach, hire somebody. Or you're a really good salesperson, you suck at coaching, hire a coach, right? Hire somebody to do the stuff that you're not good at. Research and development, like with us, the amount of money that we have spent, in kind of R&D, or I don't know if it's traditional R&D, but we spend a fortune on, developing this, our software, our profit acceleration software, digital acceleration software, the group coaching software. It's about to be fully customizable in a few days here. So anyway, so they're training, again, your sales guy. My sales guy sucks. Okay, well, train them. Right? Send them somewhere. Take your people seriously and they'll take themselves seriously. Acquisition, this is absolutely something you could think about. It's like think about this, Road Dogg. Like if you have like an acquisition, if you have let's just say you have a 10x multiple in your company, okay? And you acquire a company that has like a 1.5x, and then it has a synergistic, it's like you're a digital marketer and then you buy a business coaching company, or you're a business coach, and then you buy a digital marketing company, and the two, the two could overlap and bundle together. What happens? What do they say? If you have a 10x, you just take that 1.5x that you acquired the digital marketing company for, and you basically gave it a 10x valuation immediately because you're bundling it in with what you've currently got. And by the way, business coaching and social media or digital marketing might be a bad example because I don't see a lot of acquisition going on in that world. But just think about the retail store buying the other retail store, the e-commerce play buying the other e-commerce play. Lots of that going on. So again, this is, if you multiply the multiple immediately by bundling it in with your current client, or in your case, you. I'm not sure if I'm doing a good job of explaining that, but the acquisition world is, totally, people just don't quite get it. And it's a lot of power in it. Let's put it that way. The PE world is one that, as a business coach, you might want to explore a little, not necessarily to become private equity to get involved, but to understand it at a high level, right? But look, here's an example. We just spent like a ton of resources, money, human capital, rolling out Profit Acceleration Simulator that we've talked about a lot, right? It can find any business owner $100,000, 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. In actual fact, the simulator does it in minutes, right? So imagine legitimately finding your coaching fees prior to starting with your new 24,000, like $2,000 a month to $100,000 client, right? That would be $8,333 a month, right? Who wouldn't exchange $24,000 as in your fees for $100,000 that the simulator and the software would ultimately get for you, right? And plus, we just hired a new full-time software engineer, right? Lots of heat, you know what I mean, right? But to basically take it totally customizable, right? So I'm throwing gasoline on an already burning fire. So there becomes like a little bit of a compounding effect versus starting from scratch. Again, it's heat for the cake. So we took money and we allocated to hire somebody new to build something that was already in motion, was already working for clients who were already using it, and then bringing in new clients are now getting a higher level value proposition and making it easier for our sales guys and our sales team to basically get deals done, right? So that would be an example, good, bad, indifferent, like how I'm throwing heat on what we've currently got, right? So for your clients, if they were going to raise money, my question is, where are they going to do it? And if you don't have a clear, like if you don't know what the equivalent of your, profit acceleration simulator would be, I would caution them big time, because as soon as they do the raise, I started with this, they now are answerable. So do they really want to be answerable? And the problem is that they're answerable to profit, right? And again, it's not that the investors are greedy and want to be big brother. Quite frankly, they're often uneducated themselves, right? And they think that, I gotta, we've got to we've got to look at our monthly, quarterly reporting, and it needs to be going in the right direction, right? What happens when Facebook, they just recently came out with their earning reports, and then one of them, it was brutal, right? And then it's like, oh my God, Zuckerberg lost whatever billions of dollars in one day. You think he really cares? Do you think Zuckerberg is sitting there going, oh no, I'm only worth X when I was worth X yesterday? Couldn't give a rat's backside. It's a 10-year play for him, right? Like it's 100% a 10-year play. But bottom line is that a small company, where I'm going here, let's forget Facebook and metaverse and billions and billions. That's just not where we're playing as business coaches. The local chiropractor takes on investors and buys another chiropractic clinic down the road. I got to say this now. The mistake that he will make is that he will often he's a chiropractor, and then he will buy a chiropractic clinic that is a fair distance away, right? If I'm a chiropractor and I want to expand, there are some intangibles and some variables here, but I want to own 3 chiropractic clinics within a drive of one another. So picture like a triangle, like a Bermuda Triangle around the city. And then you want to have it so that they're 30 minutes. So if one chiropractor calls in sick and can't make it, one of your other guys is only 30 minutes, or you're only 30 minutes away from jumping in the car and going over and filling in. Or the massage therapist calls in sick, you're just 30 minutes away from scooting over. Or the office manager calls in sick, you can just, zip over there in 30 minutes, versus you're in another state, another city, you're an hour and a half away. You don't have the good fortune of being able to jump in and basically solving that. So it's like, that comes from the world of franchising, where if you're going to buy a Subway, if you don't own 3 of them, I don't recommend it, because 3 of them you can make some money. One of them you're just flipping burgers type of thing, you got yourself a job that's pretty poorly paid. So by owning 3, you got one lot of inventory, you got one lot of staff, you got one lot of, somebody can handle the payroll. And again, somebody calls in sick, they can just zip over. Okay. So the mistake that chiropractors make is that they buy another one and it's too far away. Where I was going, and I kind of got off track there, is that the chiropractor wants to expand. That's fine. But if he's got to do a raise to do so, he might put himself in a position where he's held his feet to the fire, held too closely to profit, when in actuality, a step backwards to make some forwards, or multiple steps backwards to take multiple steps forwards, is something that needs to be done. But the shareholders don't want to hear about it. Look, they put $100,000 in, and they just want to know that it's protected, and they don't want to hear about, declining revenues, yada, yada, yada. So, Road Dog, what do you think, Shoots? That's my answer, mate.
Well, hang on. Let me answer the question. Do you think businesses should raise money to get started? Nope. Next. That's the difference between you and I. Right?
Well done. Dun.
See, you didn't have to like go on for 15 minutes. There it is, right there. Hey, by the way, I do want to say this. I want to make a very, very good point here. I love this pouring gas on the already existing fire. So just to give you a good example. So in our agency, what we do, let's say we have a client, they come to us, they've got 2-3 offers, right? Very common. And they're running traffic to all these campaigns. You know what nobody does? Nobody does a P&L. nobody takes a look at, are these offers actually profitable?
Nice.
And which of those offers is the most profitable offer that they're currently running, which then completely dictates where you're driving your traffic, right? Like, it blows my mind that an agency owner, and this is where a business coach can have a perfect partnership with an agency, but like,
Yep.
how are they not looking at the numbers and
P&L.
actually and believing their client that they actually know if their offers are truly profitable? Like, it's crazy. In an
Yep.
ever-changing landscape of
Mhm.
online marketing right now, especially with ad costs where they are, like, how are you not looking at the numbers? And maybe that's an angle for business coaches right now as well. Like, I realize you're running online campaigns, but have you actually sat back and looked at the numbers of are they truly profitable, and are you breaking your offers apart? So I just wanted to
Yep.
throw that out there because I love
Yeah.
that.
No, nice. And that, look, P&L, this is just comes back to what we was talking about, right? Either, rather than reading the new, sales and marketing book of the week, going to financial, going to letters to shareholders is possibly a better place to get some knowledge. Again, a la Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, what Jeff Bezos was up to for many years and apparently did pretty good. And then also, rather than, fluffy, whatever it might be that you might be studying, like understanding financial statements. You go in, Road Dog just said it, you learn to read a P&L statement, and it's a total game changer. And by the way, here's a little X factor, what Road Dog just said. Here's the kicker. When you go to your client and you ask to look at your P&L, there's a really good chance, A, they don't have one, and B, if they do, it's tremendously out of date. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be old, right? Too old to be able to look at it and say, hang on, we got to make some decisions. Like, we got to go. And then who do you need to go to get the P&L? The answer is their accountant. Well, hey, let me come with you. Let me speak to him with you. Well, guess what? Now you're on the phone. You're in the office, maybe, not necessary, but would be a good idea. Cough, cough. What do you think that accountant's thinking? Hey, a business coach that actually gets it, right? Like, this guy actually understands what he's doing. He's going to his client. He's insisting, look, in order to make some good decisions here, we got to be able to look at a scorecard. And then what's the scorecard, right? You got one when you golf. You got a scoreboard when you play football, when you play cricket, when you play hockey. You wouldn't play hockey without looking at the scoreboard. You get your butt kicked. And you're playing tennis and you don't know when it's break point. You don't know when you got advantage or they've got advantage. You're going to get your butt kicked if you guys have got any semblance of, you know what I mean? Like, if you're not tremendously better, or they're not tremendously better than you, if they're watching the scoreboard and you're not, they're going to kick your butt. The same thing in football and every other sport, right? And by the way, you explain this to the accountant. He goes, geez, I get it, man. I know these guys, business owners just don't understand, right? Well, boom. There's a really good chance that you just formed a relationship with that accountant. And by the way, maybe not, but if you do it 10 times, I got to tell you, you get yourself 2 referral partners. And by the way, the more you do it, the better, again, the better you can get at, because some of the accountant's hot buttons and that sort of stuff. So a great way to get on the phone or into the office of an accountant by going to your client and saying, look, let's assess your P&L. So,
well, and the funny thing is,
bingo,
too,
bongo shoots.
I was just going to say too, as you and I both know, people will do something, they'll have a little bit of success, and they'll stop doing it, right? So it's interesting when you take a look at, it's no different in online campaigns. Like, when you take a look at and break out certain things, like, they've had success in the past, they've stopped doing it, they're now moving on to something else, and they're wondering why they're losing money. By looking back, and if you have the proper data, it's all numbers, right? Like, you'll agree with that. Like, if you can look back and go, man, you used to have this offer, what happened there? Like, why did you ever stop running that? Why did
it work so well? I no longer do it. Right? It happens all the time.
Right? It's like, oh wow, I was reaching out and asking 3 people a day how I can help them in their business, and I was getting inundated with appointments, and now I'm just sitting here picking my butt. Like, well, no kidding. How about you go back to what was working, right?
Yep. So
we see it all the time in the online world where I'll audit an account, and it's like, why would you ever turn this ad off? Like, your ROAS was 2, 3, 4. Like, I don't understand. But because you have to no, if it's working, don't break it. Like, why?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyways, that's just my rant. But I love it. Like, find where, not just where there's current, like, but if they have the proper numbers, you can always go back and see what was working and maybe get them, like anything. Like, it was working so well. You said it. I just stopped doing it. Why?
Yeah. Common shoots. Common. Anywho.
Anyways, so geez, we're at the top of the hour. So what? Pick one thing. What's your one thing besides having to become a better joke writer? Like, what's one thing that you can pull from today's episode that people can implement in their business right away? And I hate to say, and I swear to God, if you say "Little Red Arrow, you are here," we're gonna have some problems.
Don't pretend like you don't love it, Shoots. Don't pretend. Look, I would say I don't think I did a really good job of this, but like a little bit of what we talked about today is like what we'll call acquisition. Like buying. Like, so again, your client, depending upon what they're doing, right? You got a construction company, okay, and they build houses. And then there's a roofing company that's been around for longer than 3 years. Let's assume 10 years. The guy's been doing a good job, built a when I say built a database, highly doubt he built a database, but he's built a list of clients. He's got a bunch of phone numbers. He's got his notepad with all the, the phone numbers and whatnot, everybody that he's following up and all the quotes that he did and all the jobs that he did, yada, 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 yada. Like going in and potentially buying that roofing company that is already operating. It's already got the roofers. It's already got the materials. It's already got its location. It's already got its jobs lined up for the next, 3 to 6 months, and acquiring that. Again, if one company has, a high valuation, wouldn't be 10x in that world, by the way, but let's just go, it has a 10x valuation, which it totally could. It would have to be doing, millions of dollars in a world like that. But let's just say one company's got a 10x valuation, and then they buy a company with a 2x valuation. By bundling it into your offer, you just increased the value of the asset big time. Okay. So look, Warren Buffett, what is Warren Buffett's superpower? It's he finds undervalued assets. Okay. So another example that might explain it better. Okay. There's a house for sale in your area and you've got an intimate knowledge of your area, right? Like others just from other cities won't have. And there's an old lady on the street, and she wants to move. The house is just too big for her at this stage of her life. Okay. And then she wants to sell it, and she's willing to sell it for, let's say, $500,000. And you've got intimate knowledge, for a fact that house is worth $650,000. Or maybe the layout. What you want to do with real estate, you always want to add a bathroom and a room. If you add a bathroom and a room, you will increase. Let's just say you put a 10%, 20% down payment. You'll pretty much get by doing an appraisal after the fact, after you add a bathroom and a room, you'll basically increase the value of your house, be able to go back to the bank, pull your deposit back out, and now you just got a house for free and you could go do it again, right? So, but what I'm saying, you buy a house, what did I say? $500,000 that's worth $650,000. If you buy that house from her, you make $150,000 as soon as you sign that paperwork. Okay, the end. I don't care if you're rich, poor, smart, dumb, whatever, right? You make $150,000 as soon as the ink hits the paper and it's a done deal. Okay. Well, if you have if there is a business, okay, and you buy it for, again, simple number, $100,000, and it is worth $250,000, okay, when bundled into your offering, and you can do something with it. And by the way, if you own, I'm also going to assume, I said this earlier, if you have a construction company, I would assume that roofing is either something you need to bring in or something, you're eliminating an expense because you're now going to be buying, shingles and that sort of stuff and getting labor significantly cheaper than you otherwise were doing, is the frame, right? But the bottom line is if you buy that company, and you bundle it up and it's worth an extra $150,000 when you sign the paperwork, I don't know, you just made $150,000. You'll have to have the skills in order to manage that team and not let them all go bye-bye and have to, reemploy everybody 10 minutes after signing the paperwork. Now, that would be a headache, but that's part of your due diligence and whatnot. That's a company that you don't buy. You would have made an error. And by the way, you might do that once, but then you would learn, and you wouldn't have that happen multiple times, or you're going to have a very short career in the acquisition world. Anyways, Road Dog, I think that there's power in that. I don't think people are thinking about growing their business, through clever marketing and that sort of thing. They're not thinking about growing it through acquisition. And that's something worth having a look at. So I don't know. I just think, look, buying undervalued assets is how Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger made a lot of money, to the tune of, again, just more money than any of us could count. I think that's maybe a place to sharpen the saw a little bit, thinking about with your clients. And the beauty, see, here's the thing. So you're sitting there thinking, yeah, I don't want to go and acquire companies. Here's the magic. And this is where I believe as a business coach, I was a little bit different. I was like, if I took you on as a client, if I didn't feel like I could learn something, because I was never short of a lead, I was never short of a client. I mean, I was very, I was a good business coach, and I was out there, and I put myself out there, without hesitation. So I always had clients. The question was, could you teach me something? If I felt like I could learn something, I'd take you on as a client. If I didn't feel like I could learn something, it was no, thank you. What am I getting at? So if one of the things, if you're in that kind of boat and all you need to do is be willing to put yourself out there and be aggressive in your lead gen and your conversion, you might want to think about going to businesses. And one of the things that you ask them is, are you interested in acquiring other undervalued assets? And then give them a little bit of a framework like I just outlined to you, and listen to the tonality and the words that they use over the phone, not just their words, but the way they use the words. And then if you're lucky enough to be in the office with them, read their body language, not just what they say. And if you feel like you have somebody who would be interested in going and buying 10, one competitor, 3 competitors, 10 competitors over, a period of 1 to 3 years, you're going to learn to acquire businesses without doing anything. Imagine what you're going to learn through that process. How incredible is that? And by the way, your coaching client is not thinking about this on their own. So if you didn't bring it to them, they wouldn't be thinking along these lines. And they got this really profitable business, and now they're going to acquire their competition as a growth strategy, as opposed to turning Facebook ads on, which might not be, by the way, but could with capitals be an unbelievable opportunity. And if you help them find undervalued assets, as in the roofing company that's worth $3 million, that the guy is sick, tired, over it, just wants to move to Hawaii, he might take significantly less than that, then you've done a really, really good thing. So I don't know, Road Dog, that might be a little bit of a shift in some business coaches thinking. But again, start a company versus buy a company. Again, most people will think as a frame that starting is less risky than buying, and they'd be dangerously wrong. They need to understand more than just that statement, and that they need to be 3 years old, because then they got over the bunny hop, and you need to be able to read financial statements and whatnot, or you could be in for a horrific surprise. But you'd learn, and there's some really good people out there to guide. So anyways, Shoots, that's my final rant. What do you think?
Is that a business term? Bunny hop?
It is, Shoots. I used to do that on my Kuahara, my BMX racing days. Shoots. There you go.
That's so rad, dude.
Rad. Hey, you know what I'm going to say now? Hang on. The movie Rad was filmed in my high school. Boom. I was a little bit young, so I wasn't there yet, but Rad was filmed in my high school. Shoots. So.
What year was that movie shot?
I don't know. 86, maybe 85.
You're
80.
telling me that you didn't grad in the 80s? Come on. What was it? Grad 83? Like what?
Quite shoots.
Anyways, on that note, it's time to wrap this sucker up because I could go down a rabbit hole as well, but you know what? I leave those exclusively for you. That's why your pretty picture is on this. And by the way, folks, for those of you, please let us know if you think a much better image would be of Road Dogg putting KB in some sort of a headlock. Now we're talking. I think we need to listen to the people, and I think we need to update the image. I think that would be a fantastic image myself. Anyways, on that note, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the man on top of the hill, the king himself, King Karl. And if you're not on the inside and getting access to the pre-show, or you aren't getting access to Karl's daily emails with his X-rated jokes, be sure to go to focus.com and subscribe today. You see that? It's a teaser, Karl. That's what we call that in the business. A tease.
Nice.
Right? If you enjoyed this podcast, please share with a fellow coach or someone you think might make a great coach or a great salesperson or somebody who's just a fan of Tom Brady or Tony Robbins. And of course, as always, we'd appreciate that. You know what I just realized? I am your Rob Gronkowski to your Tom Brady. This is happening. Anyway, if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a review. As we know, the streaming services leave an insane amount of weight towards these reviews. And that is it for another week. And that is it for me getting distracted. Remember, folks, progress equals happiness. We'll see you on the next show.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at Focused.com.